stuff that is like really silly, Jacob's probably gonna like throw it in.
Oh, perfect.
If we give him permission, which I think we both did. I don't know.
I think he'll just do it.
He'll just
for
do
fun.
it. Throw in some eagle noises.
Yeah, like a honk.
Or a little promo.
Yeah, that'd be cute. He'll find a burping noise.
Say something sad, and then he'll go like womp womp.
Yeah.
Hi everyone, my name is Tristan. I am Northern Tachoni from the Yukon, and I am the Community Engagement and Social Media Coordinator on the Indigenous Youth Wellness Team. And I'm really excited to sit down here today for our Culture Bites episode with Jamie. I'm going to pass it over to you so you can introduce yourself.
Thank you. Well, again, my name is Jamie. I am Intlakatumch, Shakwatmch, and Muscogee Cree. I grew up hybridly between East Van, in Merritt, and Saskatchewan. I guess that's it. I am now living in Vancouver full-time and being an artist full-time as my life. That's basically it, yeah.
I'm so excited to have this chance to have a conversation with you. Are you able to tell us a little bit more about life as an artist and what it is like working, and maybe the space that we're in right now?
Yeah, so I guess for the space that we're in now, this is a shared tattoo studio that I have with my fellow tattoo artist friends. We have been in here for about a year now. And yeah, we co-own this space, and I'm so proud of us. It's so cool. We used to have a shared space in Chinatown, and it's a big step up from that. And now we have a storefront, and we have heating, which is great. We didn't have that before. But otherwise, yeah, that's the space that we're in. It's just a shared studio with 7 or 8 other local tattoo artists that we have. I guess the question was my life as an artist?
Yeah, how did you get into art, or how did you decide that you wanted to work as a tattoo artist?
Right. Well, I've always been into art as a little child. My mom, I think she regretted that, teaching me how to draw at such an early age, because I was drawing on her walls a bit too early, and also getting in trouble for drawing on myself as a child and drawing on other kids. But it got me here, which is great. But I think it's just the conditions that I was living with, as per art, with my family. My uncles are weirdly great at drawing, especially with nature elements like fish and plants. And I think, growing up with that as well as what I focus on now as a tattoo artist. And a lot of the aspects of my art is focused on nature and what I see on the territories that I'm on. I just really, really love plants and just being outside, and I guess that's my name. That's what I chose my name for as on Instagram, and just like my artist name of being in the forest, because I love being in the forest. But yeah, I think just like being in a lot of conditions of growing up, of like it was really hard. And especially for an anyone Indigenous, growing up is really difficult with family and just life in general and school. And I took art very, very seriously, and I held on to it. It was something that I've always kept with me, no matter where I went to, no matter where I was living. I lived in Vancouver and Merritt and Saskatchewan, but my environment always changed, but I always had drawing. Mm-hmm. So it was very important for me to keep that with me. And I think as like I wasn't necessarily serious about drawing. I never really thought of it as being something that I could live off of or make a life from, because growing up, we don't really have a lot of people to show you that. And I think the more focus it is, it's more so focusing on academia and how important that is, which is very important. But I think, you know, it's also very important to show that creating is just important as academia. So I think that's, yeah, I just kept creating, kept doing stuff. I was a line cook for so many years before I got into tattooing, and I was also going to school at Langara, and I was doing my prerequisites to become a nurse. And I think I was just kind of like in this weird early 20s stage of like, I don't know what I'm doing with my life. Everything sucks. But again, I went back to drawing because I was kind of confused of what I was doing with my life, and I didn't know if I actually wanted to do that and become a nurse. And so I just started drawing again, and then it sparked something in me, and I started drawing and painting, and then I watched a YouTube video of this girl. I don't remember her name, but she just did this vlog of like, she's like, oh, I'm just getting into tattooing. I'm gonna learn how to do hand poking. And I was like, oh, fascinating. And then I won't say it on here, but I did something to see if I could do it. And I was like, oh, I can do it. And then I think that's something that I kind of kept on going. And yeah, now I'm here, which is crazy. It's off of YouTube, which is fun. Yeah.
I think that's so cool. Just sitting here and listening to you talk about your experience with creativity is very inspiring. I like to draw a lot as well, and I haven't drawn for a very long time. So I feel like I need to pick up a sketchbook and maybe pick up my pens. I like to use like the ink black pens, and I buy all of the really little tiny ones for
fine
all of the
line.
details.
Yeah, they're so fun.
I feel like I need to pick one of those up and like take it out into the forest.
Yeah.
And just like sit and be inspired by nature.
Exactly. Yeah. It's something that we all see and we've all grown up with. And a lot of the things that I tattoo a lot of like cedar and everything, because I'm constantly just outside, and there's so much cedar everywhere you go in Vancouver, and this territory has an amazing abundance of just inspiration, basically. I really, yeah, I guess I think I do about 3 or 4 cedar tattoos a week, which is crazy. But that's also just being outside and like touching and really holding on to, like literally physically holding on to like the plants and anything that I can play with dirt and everything, which is really great. But yeah, there's a lot of inspiration, and creativity is so important. It doesn't even have to be drawing. It can be anything you can think of. Creativity is so important, and it will carry you so far. So it doesn't even have to be drawing. It could just be cooking or playing with dirt, and you can make something out of it. I think it's really great.
Making something out of cooking sounds delicious, kind of like our Culture Bites segments that we do. Those are always
Culture bites.
delicious.
Yes, exactly.
As you were talking about all of the cedar tattoos that you're putting out into the world, all I can think of is like, that's so much good medicine, because that's a medicine, and that's something that people are going to be able to carry with them, and they can look at it.
Exactly.
And like, if you're feeling like you need some time and some space, you can remember that you've always got this with you. You've always got all of those connections, people that you can reach out to, that you're not alone.
Yeah, that's the thing too. Like, again, like you can create, like being creative is anything. You can do anything with it. And no matter where you are, in a different environment, you're far from home, you're scared, you just pick up your tiny little fine line pen and just draw something. It really takes you into a spot of yourself and like your core self, which is always there no matter where you go. And again, creativity will bring you so far, and it'll take you out of really like hard, difficult situations that we always go through all the time.
I also find that doing things like drawing or just being in nature can be like very meditative because you're just sitting there and maybe you're not really thinking about any mistakes that might be made.
Yeah.
And then something else that is really cool that I heard is if you have mistakes in your artwork, you don't really have to worry about it too much because that's going to be part of your style and like who you are as an artist. So
Yeah,
nothing has to be perfect.
Exactly. Yeah, that's why I really focus on plants because, like, it's not straight anyways. Like, it's totally fine. But I think that's also something that I really like with the cedars as well. Like, nothing's ever the same, especially with any plant or any little thing that I can do. It'll never be the same. And again, like you were saying with medicine and so meditative, it's also very important of when you're going into doing something with creativity is that it's coming from a good spot and your intentions are good and you're in it for the right reasons of just having that medicine there. You have to be really careful with what you're putting out there as well with creativity. I think that's very important. Especially with, with tattooing, I think it's also like if I'm not feeling good, then I shouldn't be tattooing, just because that energy is also getting put into someone that's going to be carrying it forever.
Yeah.
And I don't think anybody would want a tattoo that's like kind of like a yucky feeling with it as well. So I have to be very careful with what I do and what I'm creating, because it's going to be with somebody who's going to do so much, and I think it's also really good that it's an equal shared energy of feeling safe as well.
This is really an opportunity to kind of connect with what your energies are telling you. And
Exactly. Yeah. I mean, people come in and they're excited anyways, so it's kind of like a good energy. They're just kind of like nervous and like excited for a tattoo, and all I just have to do is make sure that my energy and I'm not feeling bad. Otherwise, it's a lot of fun, and I love what I do, and I'm very grateful that I've drawn so much that I got here. I got this cool spot with my friends, and it's gonna keep bringing me to a lot of opportunities that I can't even think of yet, which is great. I'm excited.
you just said that you've drawn so much. What are some of the big things that you've learned throughout the process? Like what are some of the things that have been consistent throughout your career as a tattoo artist, and what are some of the things that maybe you're looking forward to?
Just like drawing wise of things, I think, well, now I guess it's a consistent thing is going to be Cedar. It's been like that for a year, and I'm not sick of it, which is great. It feels really great for me to do that, and people come in and they're so excited. And the process with that is a freehand. People come in, I draw on them, like what like map it out, and then I just do the cedar with all the little details, and it's always different on anybody. And I think it's fun for the both of us to having that trusting process and that organic way of kind of just moving with the body. And I think that's a thing that I will be consistent is a freehand tattoo. So that means that it's not a pre-drawn design that you stencil. It's just you come in, you have an idea. Mostly it's botanicals that I can't do any like tigers or anything, but a good simple blackberry or cedar, anything that's, that I've seen, I've touched and, harvested, and I know what they look like, and they've scratched me and I know what they feel like. It's very familiar. So things like that I think will be very consistent, and I'm hoping it will stay consistent because I really love freehanding tattoos. And I think, yeah, like the evolution of my art is always different and it changes. I'm now getting into like realism shading. And that's a lot of fun. I think that's really cool, and I'm learning about myself with it too. And I think it's a really cool journey. I just started that a couple months ago, so I think that's something, like, it never stays the same, especially with our tattooing. We're always doing better, like getting better at something, or there's no peak, if that makes sense. It's just you keep going, and it's just a gradual learning experience. And yeah, I think it's something that's always going to be, I'm always going to be learning something. I don't know everything, so I'm glad to kind of figure it out as I go.
I feel like that's such an important lesson for any aspect of life. Like, you're never going to know everything, and you always need to be open to learning from the experiences around you. Mm-hmm. And then, as you were talking about drawing freeform, that reminded me of like our conversation that we're having now. Like, it's really from the heart.
Yeah.
And when you're drawing freeform, it's kind of a similar feeling and a similar type of connection.
Yeah, very organic, very with the flow. It's trusting on both parties, which is it's a really good connection. And you'll always have it forever. It'll be out there forever, which is great.
Yeah. And something that is so cool is, as our team has moved through the community, we've met many people who have tattoos by you. And every time that we've met somebody with one of your tattoos, we've been so excited to let them know that we're going to be sitting down and talking with you.
That's so cool.
So, like, your artwork is out there, and everyone is so excited about it.
It's out there.
And, like, I'm really, really looking forward to seeing more folks out there with, like, your cedar tattoos.
Yeah. It's a lot of fun.
Yeah, and then also just knowing that each and every one of those tattoos is going to be very unique in their own way, just like each branch of cedar.
Yeah. I mean, there's like, I don't know how many people, like hundreds of people at UBC that have a cedar tattoo, and none of them look the same, which is great. I tattooed somebody, I think last week, and they're like, oh, I just started at UBC. And I was like, oh, great, you're jumping the gun. You're getting the tattoo before you find out everyone else has a tattoo there from me, which is really cool. It's a big word of mouth, and the community here is really great. Yeah, I can't count how many cedar tattoos I've done, but I'm very, very grateful for the amount of people that I've met through tattooing. I meet about 10 people a week, which is a lot. But it's also really funny because, like, I don't actually, like, I'll bump into them in public and they'll be like, oh my God, Jamie, good to see you. My tattoo's doing so good. I'm like, what did I give you again? Like, it's just like my brain is so like, just like I get like tired, or just like it's hard for me to remember faces, but I remember tattoos. I just don't really remember people's faces, which is really funny. A lot of people.
So as we're having our conversation, I was just wondering if you're able to share a little bit about what you do for your personal wellness and like what wellness means to you.
Right. Well, my personal wellness, I would say, is boundaries. We can't live this life without boundaries. We need to know when to say no. We need to know when where we need to cap out, where we need to like actually, just like I need to take a minute and just like take take some time. And I think, you know, not a lot of, that's not what we're taught growing up, is boundaries. And unfortunately, we have to figure that out ourselves. And it takes a long time for us to figure that out. And I don't think that's something that we will ever really fully know. But I'd say a big part of my wellness journey is just knowing what those boundaries are and what those boundaries look like and how to voice those boundaries in a very safe way for everybody. And yeah, I guess other than that, I think it's just going for a walk with my dog, the border collie. And she loves a good walk. So I think that also kind of like when I'm like down in the dumps and I like don't want to go for a walk, I have to go for a walk. And I think that kind of like reminds me that, you know, being outside, I'm like, oh, right, it's not that bad. So I think that wellness also of just like being outside, being forced to be outside, really helps me keep going. And my friends and my family, I love a good laugh. I love laughing with my friends. And I think that's a really big thing for my wellness too, is just remembering that I have my buddies. I can go over there, watch a movie and just have a little giggle. And I think that's a big part of my wellness journey, is finding really good people. And having those boundaries of, you know, everything kind of comes into play with like a full circle. Yeah, I think my wellness is mainly just chilling too. Learning to chill, being chill, it's really good. What was the other question about the wellness? Did I cover it all?
I think we covered a lot, and what's coming to mind as you were speaking is just like understanding that balance. But I think the second part of the wellness question was probably, I don't know. We've been laughing and talking and just having such a good time.
Little giggles here and there.
Yeah.
See, wellness. This is great. I guess I can like touch base a little bit on the boundaries part as well. That is really huge when creating. It's something that you really have to learn about yourself and what you're doing with whatever you're creating. When to say no. You don't have to say yes to everything that people bring forward to you. Be very open to opportunities, but knowing, I guess, what those boundaries are and what we can do with them. I think that's very important. So we can stay afloat and we're good, or else we'll just get crazy not knowing what those boundaries are.
I'm so happy that you're talking about boundaries. I think that's so important. So the other part of the question was, what does wellness mean to you?
Wellness mean to me? What does wellness mean to me? I think it's just something that it's very, very evident that we practice wellness, whether that looks different for everybody. And whatever we're doing, wherever we go, practicing that wellness, being outside, go in the forest, and just hang out and just being able to kind of play with dirt, get your hands dirty, touch some leaves or something. That's really big. And I think with us, especially as Indigenous people, our default is to be outside. Our default is to know what that wellness journey is and just have a giggle outside. Touch a leaf and have a giggle. I think that's a good wellness.
I think for myself, I really enjoy going to water and being around water.
Yeah.
And it's like an added bonus when there are trees nearby that you can...
Yeah, it's a higher XP. You get some extra points being around some water. Extra points when you touch it too, a little bit. Put your feet in some water. That's really good, yeah. Yeah, default, being outside, being by water, which is really cool. Yeah, think that's good.
I like it. So another question that we'd like to talk about is, do you have anything that you'd like to share with other Indigenous youth, or anything that you would have shared with your younger self?
Yeah, I would probably have to say that it gets better. No matter what happens, no matter what we're doing or how hard things get, it does get better. And just give yourself a little bit more time. Give yourself another 5 more minutes and do something. Go play with something. Just give yourself a chance to kind of just go learn how to draw or learn how to cook. You can create so many things. It will take you so far in life. And I wish I did tell myself, I wish I knew that as, as a younger youth, that it really does get better before being in the midst of it, of like a really deep, dark feeling, it's hard to remember that. I think for all of us, I think we've all kind of just have some moments where it's really hard to remember that it will get better. And that I just really want youth to know that you need to create something. Create something, it's so important. You will literally go so far in life just picking up a fine line pen or literally just playing with dirt and making a cup out of it. Mm-hmm. Anything. You can write a song or write a poem. Nobody has to see it. You don't need a lot of followers on Instagram. That doesn't matter. None of that matters. As long as you feel good doing something, it'll be so awesome later on. And not to give up on it. Mm-hmm. I sucked at drawing before. I was not a good tattoo artist when I started. I'm not the same as I was before, and I still have a long journey to go to get better at what I'm doing too. Like I said, there's no peak to it. You just keep getting better at something, especially if you really love it. And I'm just scratching the surface of the things that I've done so far, of learning different ways to create. There's thousands of ways you can do things, so I think that's really great. If just try everything, don't give up, and just keep doing it if you really like it.
Mm-hmm. And I think another important message is maybe be gentle on ourselves as we move through these processes. Yeah, like I said, you're not going to be great at it in the beginning. You'll never be good at something. That's bonkers. I mean, if you are, that is so cool, but you can definitely just get better at what you're doing. And yeah, again, don't give up. Mm-hmm. Just keep going. You'll get better. Something for me, as we've been talking about creativity, that has been coming up is beadwork. And how a lot of folks, when they're beading, they'll purposely put one bead that's a different color into their work. Yeah. And I think that really speaks to the fact that nothing needs to be perfect, and that expecting things to be perfect is not something that is maybe normal.
Yeah, it's definitely something that, like, especially intentionally, kind of like messing with it a little bit. To have your own little touch for something is really great. I have a lot of friends. Thankfully, this has shown me and given me the opportunity to meet so many other artists. And I'm really hoping that there are more Indigenous tattoo artists out there, because there's not many of us. I can count them on one hand. In Vancouver, which is very tiny compared to the amount of other tattoo artists that are in Vancouver. And just keep drawing, just do it safely, as long as you come from a really good space, you're being safe with it. And those boundaries are important. Yeah.
Safe and intentional.
Safe and intentional. Throw in some boundaries and don't give up on it.
I think that that's a really great message, and I'm so grateful that you're sharing that with me and that you're sharing that with all of the youth who are tuning in and all of the families who are tuning in. As we wrap up here, I just wanted to give you the opportunity to maybe share with us a little bit more about your socials, where folks can find your information.
Right. Yes. A little shout out to me. I guess it's just in the forest.tattoo on Instagram. I recently got rid of my website. Starting anew, we are rebuilding, rebranding. So for the new year, it's just my Instagram for now. But it's the same for my email in theforest.tattoo@gmail.com if you have any questions, especially for the youth. If you have any questions for, becoming an artist or trying to figure out how to navigate through that, I would love to answer some questions. It's hard out there. I wish I had someone to tell me how to do it. But I now do, and I'm really thankful for that. And I would love to be that person to help you out.
Thank you so much, Jamie. I'm really so happy that we had this opportunity to chat.
Yes, thank you. I'm so glad you guys are here. I love a visit.
And shout out to Olivia and Jacqueline behind the camera.
Yay!
We couldn't do this without you.
And Jacob for editing this video. Made it really good.
Yeah, we can do nothing alone. We always need our community.
Exactly.
And we need to be part of our community.
Exactly. Wellness. Have a giggle. Amazing. Thank you.
Is there time for, I have a question. You do not have to talk about it. But I'm just curious, because as I was listening, I was like, oh, this is so fun. I was just curious, as an Indigenous artist, how did you figure out, you talked in the beginning about, being in the forest, but I feel like there's maybe pressure on Indigenous artists to do traditional style, native art. How did you kind of figure out okay, the line between that?
I see. Yeah. I guess thank you, Olivia. A question from the audience.
No, I think we should
that's
keep
great.
it.
I love that. That's great. Question from the audience. Yeah, I was having an issue with that. When I first started, I didn't know what what to focus on, because, you look at tattoo artists, you go to their work and they have a certain look, and they're focusing on something. And I was like, oh my God, what am I going to focus on? Because, as you're starting, there's so many things. I could be a traditional tattoo artist. I did start with hand poking. I did do that. And I have no patience, and it was too slow for me, so I started with machine. But I think right when I just started tattooing, I think I had a feeling that I stuck with, because I was just drawing plants, and I wanted to stick with that. And I think I was kind of going off a little bit track here and there, trying to figure out what my style would be, but I really stuck with plants and nature aspects. I really love being in the forest. And then I was Yam Tats before that on Instagram.
Yam Tats?
Yam
that is
Tats.
So cool.
I know. And my grandfather used to call me Jammy. And then my cousins used to make fun of that and used to call me Yammy. And then it stuck with my family, and they called me Yam. And I was like, you know what? It's Yam Tats. So I was Yam Tats, and then I was kind of getting a little bit more known in the community. And I was like, I think I gotta change it up a little bit more professional. Then I was like, I love being in the forest. So it makes sense now. I'm in the forest. So yeah, a lot of my focus on work is in the forest.
And it fits so well with your overall aesthetic.
Exactly. Yeah. You'll always find a cedar in the forest, so that's exactly what it is.
I mean, we're here in your studio and we found a tree. A full tree.
A full real tree from the forest. Yeah, I really bring that into play with my life. You can find me in the forest, literally, and here, and on Instagram in the forest. That's you. So it all works. Thank you. Great question, Olivia. Thank you.
Any more questions from the audience?
Yeah. Any audience questions? I don't see anybody's hands up. I think that's great. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you.
Great work.
All right, that's a wrap.
Bye.
I wanted to do the thing.